Now, I'm going to do a walkthrough of our scouting section, which is part of our All-Star plan. So, in the All-Star plan, you get all the features of the starter plan, which are player evaluation, player offense, player defense, team evaluation, team offense, team defense, game reports, predictions, the search and compare feature, rankings, and a visualization tool. And with the All Star plan, you get the scouting feature. So, the scouting feature allows you to do several things, starting with player profiles. In this section, you can choose a team of your league and any player of any team of that league. And so let's say you want to see a different team, Santos. And you want to have a better idea of a certain player. In this case, let's select Raheem Christmas. So the app will show a player profile that shows the player's team, position, birth year, height, weight, country of origin. But also, we present an analysis of the player's performance, offense, and defense. So you can have a good idea of the averages of any selected player. For example, performance, you can see approximate value, game score, versatility index, and you have your offensive and defensive metrics. Also, the app shows you the player's strengths and the player's weaknesses. In the case of Raheem Christmas, the app is telling us that this player's strengths are his field goal percentage, rebound percentage, and steal percentage, while his weakness is points, assist percentage, 3-point field goal percentage, and free throw percentage. We also show a radar chart that shows how does the selected player impact the game. In the case of this selected player, we can see that he is most impactful on offense, free throws attempts, field goal attempts, and free throws made and field goals made. This player profile section also allows you to compare the selected player with any other player of the league. So let's say you want to compare it with a different player, with Jeffrey Ledbetter from Astros. So here you see a table that shows player 1, player 2, the performance metrics that we use. So this is a very useful tool to compare two players on performance. And we can also add an offensive comparison or defensive comparison. Our next feature of this scouting section is player projections. This feature allows you to use the power of machine learning almost the same way as our predictions feature on the starter plan. Currently, we have the points scored prediction tool, and we will be adding more features using machine learning. For example, if you would like to know Josue Erazo from Santos, they're going to play against your team, Fuerza Regia. And you would like to see if Josue Erazo plays 10 minutes and he attempts 8 shots, 4 free throws, and 1 3-point shot. Based on historical data, using these machine learning models, the app is telling us that this player would score 7 points. So we will be adding more of these prediction tools to this future of player projections. Our next feature in scouting is advanced statistical analysis. With advanced statistical analysis, you gain a deeper understanding of the dynamics of a player and a team. So you can identify trends and you can make data driven decisions to optimize your strategy. For example, you get an opponent performance analysis where you can see how your team has performed against different opponents. So here you see all the teams that the team played against, and we have stacked bars that shows points scored, rebounds, and assists. We also have a streak analysis where you select any team on your league. Let's say you select Abejas, and this tool allows you to identify any player that has a current streak. You also get on these advanced statistical analysis a home versus away analysis. So let's say you want to select a different team. Let's select Panteras. And we want to analyze player Brian Conklin. So here you can see his performance metrics, home and away. We can see that this player is much better when they play at home, especially on his usage rate. So this allows you to prepare better for any upcoming games and analyze players from the opponent's team. Also, you have performance, offense, and defense. So you can see that a selected player has a higher offensive rating when they play at home. And for example, he's on defense, he's pretty much the same. Defensive rating almost the same, and there's defensive stops as well. On these advanced statistical analysis, you also have the game-to-game variability analysis. So let's select a different player, Astros, and let's select Jeremy Anderson. Here you can see the player's performance metrics and how much those metrics change over time. Obviously, the straighter the line, the more constant the performance. That's why his most consistent metric would be his versatility index. So let's move on to our next feature on the scouting section, which is form and momentum analysis. This feature allows you to identify trends, strengths, and weaknesses within your roster. You can make data-driven decisions about player rotations and strategies. For example, there is an approximate value streak identificator, which tells you which players of the league, not only of your team, but an entire league, have a current streak. For example, Christopher Perry from Mineros has a recent streak of an increasing approximate value during the last 5 games. So if the data shows that a player has an increase of an approximate value, it means that he's on a current streak, and the app will tell you that this player from this team has a good streak. Also, you have momentum analysis. In this case, let's select a different team, Freseros. And you can adjust here the momentum threshold. Let's set it to 0.15. And the app will tell you which players have a positive momentum and which players have a negative momentum. So for example, it calculates momentum metrics such as points, rebounds, and assists, and identifies players who are experiencing positive or negative momentum in their performance. You can adjust the momentum threshold slider and to control the sensitivity of the analysis. So a higher threshold, the higher you go, it means that the app will identify players with more significant changes in their performance. Our next feature of this form and momentum analysis is the efficiency analysis. Again, you select a team, Soles, and the app will show you which players of that team are the most efficient based on certain metrics such as pair, points, rebounds, assists, scoring possessions, turnover percentage, effective field goal percentage, and true shooting percentage. And the app will also tell you which players of that team are the least efficient based on the same metrics. So this efficiency analysis will show you which players of your team or any team that you select are the top performers or the worst performers. Our next feature on the scouting section is called Team Dynamics. This section of Team Dynamics allows you to gain valuable insights into your lineup efficiency, your role allocation, and your rotation strategies. This way you can make more informed decisions so you can optimize player performance and elevate your team dynamics. So first we have a lineup efficiency tool. Let's use the team Freseros. The app will tell you which starting lineup of this team has produced the more wins during the season. So we can see that this lineup produced a win, and it shows you the point differential, the offensive efficiency, and defensive efficiency. There's another lineup here, another lineup here. So you can compare different lineups that teams have used during the season to analyze which lineups have been the most effective for that team. You have also a role allocation analysis for any team where it displays the entire roster of that team, and based on certain standards that we created, the app will tell you that this player is a good shooter. Antoine Lillard is a scorer. There are players that haven't played many minutes, so the app will tell you that their role is not determined. Or let's say this is your own team, Fuerza Regia. And here you will see, for example, Jonathan Dunn is valuable because he probably has a high approximate value. Paulo Arroyo is a good shooter. Or Travis Simpson is a defensive stopper because he probably has the most defensive stops of that team. So this is a very good scouting tool that allows you to prepare against opponents and adjust your lineup accordingly. Next feature is a rotation heat map where you can see the entire roster average minutes played, and game numbers. So you can see which players on the roster are playing the most minutes, or which players are really not playing too many minutes per game. So each cell in the heat map represents the average minutes played by a player in a particular game, and the color intensity, which you can see right here, indicates the volume of minutes played, with the darker shades representing higher minutes and lighter shades representing lower minutes. By analyzing this heat map, you can gain insights into your team's rotation strategy. This can help you optimize your player performance, also manage player fatigue, and make strategic decisions. Let's move on to our next feature of the scouting section, which is the team power rankings. And this section is very straightforward. It's basically a graph that plots all the teams on the league based on their offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency. And if you understand statistics, you will know that the strongest teams will be on the lower right quadrant, where you can see Fuerza Regia. They are the current champs, so they have one of the highest offensive efficiencies in the league, and also their defensive efficiency is one of the strongest. You can see that a team such as Correcaminos is one of the weakest teams in the league because they are one of the lowest in offensive efficiency, and they are probably the lowest on defensive efficiency. So this is the team power rankings. It's very straightforward. Let's continue with our next feature of the scouting section, which is matchup analysis. Here, you can get valuable insights into the dynamics of a basketball matchup between two teams. You can examine key performance metrics and correlations so you can understand the strengths and weaknesses of your team and your opponent. Let's select Team 1 is Astros and Team 2 is Fuerza Regia. You can compare the offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency of both teams. You can also visualize it in a chart, both offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency. And the app will also show you the key players for Team 1 and the key players for Team 2 with their approximate value and performance metrics. And the app also shows you the last results between these two teams. So it shows that during the last 7 games, Game 1 was won by Fuerza Regia, Game 2 Astros, etc. And it shows you also a keys to the game. It's a correlation matrix, so you can see both for Team 1 and Team 2. This correlation matrix allows you to understand which factors contributed whenever the team won. So, for example, based on Fuerza Regia has won 5 out of the last 7 games between these two teams. So you can see that the strongest correlation for Fuerza Regia was their field goal percentage and maybe their free throw percentage as well. And whenever Astros won those 2 games, their highest correlation was also field goal percentage, free throw percentage, and points scored. And you have to remember that these heat maps or correlation matrix, visualize the correlation coefficients between all these factors with values that range from -1 to 1. So the higher the number, the higher the correlation. So this way, if you're a coach, you can understand that when your team won, it was because they did certain things right. And we also have a metric comparison tool where you can select a different metric. Let's select turnovers. And you will see a distribution graph between these two teams. Astros in yellow and Fuerza Regia blue. You can see the frequency and the distribution depending on the chosen metric. And also we have a curve which is called a kernel density estimate, and this curve provides a representation of the distribution of the metric. It shows the likelihood of observing values at different levels. Whenever the curve is higher, it means that there's a greater likelihood of observing values around that point. And by comparing the bars and the curve between these two teams, you can identify patterns and differences in the performance for the selected metric. So that is our matchup analysis feature of the scouting tool. Let's move on to our last feature of this scouting section or tool, which is called advanced rankings. If you remember, we also have a feature called rankings on the basic starter plan, but this is advanced rankings. This means that you can see rankings not only by certain categories such as points or rebounds, but we also have categories such as top scorers, best shooters. So in the case of best shooters, we take into consideration categories such as field goal percentage, free throw percentage, effective field goal percentage, or true shooting percentage, as well as who fouls the most, or who gets fouled the most, or who's the most valuable, who creates the biggest impact. Let's see who creates the biggest impact. So the top 10 players who create the biggest impact from the LNBP in Mexico are the following 10 players. As you can see, many of them play on the current champs, Fuerza Regia. And you can see the average of their impact. Or let's select best 3-point shooters. Based on their 3-point percentage average, you can see that Gary Riggs from Panteras is the number 1 best 3-point shooter on the league. And we also have the same for teams, where you can see best shooting teams, top scoring teams. Let's say best passing teams. And for these, we take into consideration assists per game and assist percentages. So these are the top 10 teams based on passing. Let's see who's the best offensive team. It's Libertadores. Who's the best defensive team? Fuerza Regia. So we will also be adding more of these categories. But this is a way that allows you to visualize the rankings in a different way. Not only by categories, but by roles or game actions. Who fouls the most? You can see that Marvin Clark Jr. from Dorados has 3 fouls per game. And that is our advanced player rankings tool for the scouting section. And this concludes the demo walkthrough of the scouting section. And once again, there are many features that will be added, especially for the player projections. and we hope to get feedback from coaches, players, and general managers so we can improve the scouting section. But the main goal of the scouting section is to allow the team, the coach, general manager, team's owner, or president to have a better idea of how the players of their team are performing and to have a better preparation against upcoming opponents. So thank you for listening, and this was the demo walkthrough of the scouting section of the Jump Shot Analytics basketball app.